I have to Kevin. Allison, are you okay where you're at, or do you want to go next to Kevin? Wait, then I lost Joe. Are you okay there, Allison? You're fine. Okay. No one, it's just for recording. Okay, so we are recording.
All right. I'm going to call the meeting of the regular session of the Employee Council meeting, Wednesday, February 9th, 2022 at 10:09. I'll do a roll call. Allison Williams, present. Joe Ward, present. Robert Klein, present. Kevin Pachenko, present. Jay Ritchie and Tim Cox, I believe, are excused. Josh White, present. Lorena Valdez, present. Grace Wiggins, present. Eva Millspaw, present. Anna Williams, present. Joelle Landers, present. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Robert Klein, who are our wonderful employee council. All right, so the following items are for review and discussion. And we're going to try to keep on topic as much as we can so that we can, because we have a pretty big agenda. Item number 1, review action agenda from the 2/7/22 civil service meeting. Update job descriptions. Establish separate job descriptions for part-time employees. Increase all part-time position salary ranges up to the current minimum wage of $12.80 per hour. Establish separate job descriptions for full-time employees. Increase salary ranges for full-time employees 40 hours a week and 80 hours annually to starting wage of $15 per hour. Increase salary ranges for the following positions, commensurate with market. Deputy City Clerk, $17 an hour. Accountant, $17 an hour. Police Officer, $18 an hour. Police Sergeant, $20 an hour. Zoning and Building Inspector, $20 an hour. Library Manager, $18 an hour. Mine Operations Manager, 20 to 25 hours to be determined. All current employees in the position listed either meet or exceed the proposed hourly rate. And we're going to stop at that and we'll just discuss it.
So I have the Civil Service Commission meeting on Monday evening. I'll kind of go, okay, so for A, which was, okay. Under item number 5, letter A, establish separate job descriptions for part-time employees. Their recommendation was inserting minimum wage in lieu of set dollar amount of the current minimum wage, which is $12.80, because moving forward past next year, I believe the minimum wage increase will be based on. Oh shoot! I just went. Thank you. Yes. So that way we don't have to repeat this process. The commission also recommended using both part-time and full-time pay ranges on the same job description rather than creating new job descriptions for part-time, which I think is a fabulous idea. So
I like both of those.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense because now you're going to have to keep coming back.
Exactly.
To do that. So, yeah.
Okay, and going on to letter B, increase all part-time salary ranges up to the current minimum wage of $12.80 an hour. Again, commission recommended using a code or a letter on the job description in lieu of a set dollar amount. We don't have that established as of yet. Where I mean, Cochise County has like pay bands. I mean, that would be another big project to undertake, which is fine. I just think, though, for right now, in order to get these job descriptions updated, I mean, some of them have starting wage at $8.77 an hour. So I do understand the recommendation. I might not be able to move forward with it at this time. And then the commission questioned and discussed the federal poverty level. There was concern that even the 1280 was below that, and that schedule range is based on a number of factors, including dependents and whatnot. And I believe it wasn't until we got to 5 dependents that we were going to go below the poverty line. So, and then again, the commission recommended using both the part-time and the full-time pay rates off the same job description. Letter D, increase salary ranges for full-time employees, 40-hour-week employees, 2,080 hours annually to the starting wage of $15 an hour. The commission recommended researching a compression plan for the remaining job descriptions. And then the commission also recommended moving forward with the increase to $15 an hour for full-time employees, with the exception of the fire department. Because they really, because of their hours and their schedule, we just really need to look at them separately because we're not looking at the same annual. Up to 15? Well, it varies. Currently, we have about 12 or 13 employees that are full-time employees under $15 an hour. And so this would be for budget. We would increase those full-time employees that are under 15 to $15 an hour. The rest of the employees are at or above $15 an hour. So immediately affecting, it's only 12 employees at this time, but it will establish at least a minimum of $15 an hour for full-time employees. And that is one, to try to compete as best we can with even things like Target and banks. You know, I mean, full-time employees, they also have retirement. And so again, we're just trying to keep moving in the positive direction. And E, increase salary ranges for the following positions commensurate with market analysis and current wages. The vote was unanimous. The commission recommended moving forward with the starting rate of pay as listed for the following positions: deputy city clerk, accountant, zoning and building inspector, and library manager. Those are the only 4 that they recommended moving forward with. The commission recommended further comparison with Cochise County Sheriff and other local competition for the following positions: police officer, police sergeant, and mine operations manager, which the mine operations manager, they did have 2 suggestions on where I could find comparables. That's why I have it as a to be determined, because I've not been an easy project. So, but I did get some good lead there. And is that where we stopped at fire? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'll.
So we'll open it up to discussion among the council. I like the idea of putting minimum wage in lieu of the amount, because that will change. And that way we don't have to keep coming back and changing the things. The job descriptions are updated to the current minimum wage. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about that? Yes, ma'am.
No, I agree with you on that.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like the idea of only making it one job description. And what does anybody else think? I think so. And then I agree we can't do the code right now. That would be a big undertaking. So I think that we should put that as a when we can look into that.
That's why I have a question. Why would they recommend that?
Recommending that, one, that's the plan that the Cochise County uses. Secondly, then rather than updating each individual job description, you can just update them that page. And so then so in the long run, yes, having something like that established, we could just change a pay band if necessary versus changing all the job descriptions separately. So it's just a different way to go about it. And I think perhaps with the bigger employers like Cochise County, Cochise College, things of that nature, yes, they have hundreds, thousands of employees. So I understand that from that point of view.
Take away a little transparency and make it a little harder for a potential applicant to find out what the salary range is. I've seen some discussion and some library groups actually about not putting the salary then people are confident about applying for the job. They don't know what's going to happen until they apply. I mean, I get it that it's a code and the code, but I like the idea of being at least transparent there, that people know what they're applying for.
And again, I also think we just really, a lot of those that started at $8.70 an hour, I think that in itself might have a poor reflection or poor view of the city that clearly we haven't looked at this. And I don't have it here, but I do have all the job descriptions, and when they were most recently updated, majority are 2010, 2012. So it's definitely, I think it would be a better first impression if someone sees that, okay, full-time employment, I'm at least starting at $50 an hour, so, which is kind of necessary. So.
No, I agree. And then listing both part-time and full-time pay ranges on the same job description. I think that's awesome. Okay. I think that's good. Anybody else have any concerns about that or questions or comments?
Yeah, the job description is just a general estimate.
Right.
So it's consistent.
All right. And then you would just say whether the job is available as part-time. Right. For the box. Yeah, I think that is.
I agree with the increased salary range for the full-time employees. So that you said it only affects 12 of employees. Will that happen at this new budget?
Yes.
Yeah, like what's the time frame? Because I know at least one CDL driver that we have that's not his resignation came prior to
okay. That will be effective as of July 1st.
All right,
with the new budget. Please do. And tell them to come talk to me too. So always welcome. Okay, so now may I move forward? No, okay, I didn't, sorry, jump in. Item 6, fire department, which is 56 hours a week, 2,912 hours annually. And again, those numbers are according to the FLSA. And those salary ranges, we discussed them. Let me get back. Fire department. Okay, commission discussed starting rate of pay for fire department being low. Discussion on the number of hours worked by firefighters higher at 2,912 annual hours versus 2,080 annual hours for a 40-hour-a-week employee. Commission recommended further comparison with other local fire departments for the following position. And it's for all the positions listed. So we did not go into further discussion there. They wanted more comps, which is completely reasonable. And specifically wanted comps to include not just cities, but counties. And that was a very good point. I don't usually use counties in those numbers. I use the data that comes from the Arizona League of Cities and Towns.
So is this something that you're looking for an agency comparable to our size or a radius of?
Both. Both.
We're going to have some significant fluctuation there for being compared to a larger agency service or fire district or something.
Oh yeah, they do. They just wanted to see it all. that is definitely something that I can definitely get that put together, and I am very, very eager and determined that these get changed at budget, which means I've got to get them back in a special session, get back in a special session with employee council. Because again, I mean, I think if we are going to make changes at the fiscal year, July 1, it needs to be, we need to have encompassed and made those decisions for all of our employees and all of our departments. So I am definitely very eager and will be continuing to, you know, plug away at this. I always welcome suggestions if you have other resources. So again, I'd rather have too much information than not enough. Can I keep going? Okay. Item 7, change deputy police chief FLSA status to exempt. It wasn't that way, and probably one of the biggest ones for being an exempt employee is when you manage staff. And so that is why, and that is in the FLSA, and it's just merely making a change on the job description. And comment on that was just follow FSLA guidelines for exempt employees. Further on that. Then item 8, update education, experience, and certification for firefighter EMT and firefighter paramedic job description. There, one says state of Arizona certification and the other doesn't. And so I need to have further conversation with the fire chief and some staff, obviously, and see what the preferred method is there. I mean, with a lot of individuals moving, relocating, I mean, if someone has a California Fire 1 and 2 certification or something from Texas, you know, do we want to at least put in an option to, you know, we will evaluate this, or, you know, along those lines. So yeah, that was just kind of getting the okay to move forward, but a decision on that actual verbiage has not been made. That one, item 9, equal employment opportunity statement and reasonable accommodation statement added to every job description, in addition to the city website and personal rules and regulations. That is something I noticed a while back, that I used a Cochise County, I think, fire marshal when we were working on that job description. And that was really clearly stated on their job description. I mean, yes, it's on the website. Yes, it's on our applications. I felt like it would just be nice to have it on probably the first thing that a potential employee is going to read. Not so much equal employment opportunity, more the reasonable accommodation, because I think that just really needs to be out there for just for them to, you know, if they need something, at least feel comfortable asking, rather than not having it there, not knowing whether or not they should ask. There's a certain amount of perhaps pride or embarrassment associated with needing to ask for an accommodation, and that way it just sort of, it just gets that out of the way. It's right there. Talk to me about it.
So, I think both are very important, and agree they should be added. It's standard for most employers.
It is, and like I said, we have it multiple places, but I want it added to the job. Okay. We move forward. Okay. Item 2. Agenda item 2. Where am I at? Was changing the longevity plan to set dollar amounts from percentages. And the Civil Service Commission made a motion to table until further comparables and deadline to policy can be returned for review. So what you have in the packet is the comparable I did However, they want further comparables, which is fine. So what you're looking at there is comparing our current longevity, which is 2%, 3%, 5%, 4, 5, 6 on those milestones of 5 to 25. And so I calculated for the current employees, so for the 2021 employees to this current year and next year, the employees that would be receiving longevity, and compared what those numbers looked like. I really liked the fact that really only 2 of the positions it did not help in a positive direction. Only 2 of those positions was it less. And so, and both of those were department head positions. So given that, I still felt very strongly that we could move forward with this. Again, my thought process, honestly, the main part of my thought process is 50 cents is 50 cents. 2% is variable depending on your salary. And 2% for me and 2% for Allison are different numbers, yet we've reached the same longevity. So it's one of those in fairness, and then also in, kind of, I guess, looking at equality there. I mean, the other one that reminds me of is when we do COLA increases. COLA increases are typically 1% across the board for every employee. However, cost of living increase, that cost of a gallon of milk went up for me and Allison identically, but we received different, we essentially received a different amount of cost of living increase based upon our salary. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to really do anything in regards to the COLA, but that is one example of why I liked the 50 cents. I also calculated an additional longevity, like 2 years. And I'm not joking you, what really surprised me is that 2 years more than doubled the cost. And so while, yes, I still believe very strongly in that perhaps something either at the end of probation or at a 2-year mark, something before the 5 years, a little more within reach, within grasp. At this point, I am still going to be moving forward, getting more comparables, taking this back to a special session with civil service, because I would really, really like to have this move forward. And so I know we've discussed it in other employee council, and it seemed to be supported. And I really like to see that, yes, it is an increase. It is a little bit more. And it's not the moon, it's not the stars, but it's a little bit. And if we can keep moving in those directions, I feel very positive.
No, I agree with you.
Keep going. All right, so we moving forward. This is my meeting.
That's right.
Okay, agenda item 3 was just further review of this action agenda from the civil service meeting. So I just, after going through everything, if there's any follow-up questions.
Not really a follow-up question, but when will they have their special? Like, is there a time frame to bring those back before budget, or?
I have got to get it done probably in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
I know you're on the top of that.
yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's gonna, I would like to say 2 weeks, because yeah, I've got to get, I really want this to be in effect for the next budget year. I don't like pushing things off, especially when, as commissions and committees, we work so hard for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says commission questions and discuss several, covered it all. Did they address cost of living increase? is that part of this year's discussion?
It wasn't part of the discussion with the Civil Service Commission. They didn't ask, and it wasn't on an agenda item.
Do you know the last time we got it?
2018. Oh, 4. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't realize it was that much. Okay. That one I don't remember. I do remember on that one, there was you had to have had 1 year of employment. And that was, I missed that by 12 days. I'm not the only person who did. And I know that is a bad taste in the mouth of a number of people. And when and if that conversation comes up again, I will probably mention that. Because again, it's just because you're a part-time employee doesn't mean your cost of living didn't go up. I think that was part-time didn't get it.
No, part-time didn't get it.
No, part-time. Yeah. So again,
period, review period, that's part of our, the way employees, and then to take away that 6 months and make it a year, that was a little bit unfair. If you're going to have a standard, and also part-time and full-time, we're all suffering from inflation. And just like your example about the gallon milk, it's a static number, it costs for everybody. And it has been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're struggling too, just to keep people at these prices that we're paying, regardless if we work more, we still are in an ecosystem that is comparable to other places around here. We're not different, we're the same in that sense. But we're going through people like it's left and right. Looks like we have the last 5 years. You can look at our roster and it changes every year. That's bad for experience, it's bad for training, it's bad for everything. But I noticed that our bottom has gotten increases for the last 2 years now. It looks like a 7% for the last 2 years.
What are you referring to?
The hourly rate. 2020 it was $12 an hour, and this year it would go to $12.80 an hour. And that doesn't affect any of our command staff. Everybody it seems like everybody's getting increased except for command staff.
And that is why the Civil Service Commission asked for no, they asked for compression. Compression. So yeah, that's
because with this new increase or proposed increase, knowing for a fact in the officer position of a fire lieutenant and the highest paid firefighter, not a supervisor, there's only going to be a 20-cent difference because that person actually have that additional stipend, which is well earned, but we're talking a 20-cent difference from a non-certified, non-experienced person to a highly trained supervisor and everything. So that's a lot of the issue that we're having. That's all department.
Yeah.
I talked about the guy that's leaving because he's getting he's long enough that he can pull his case, pull aggressive, he's still making less than his desires. Like the new hire for part-time recycling, get that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. By 26. He was venting at me pretty good.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
For us, bottom's been getting increased for the past 2 years. If we don't address it again, we're going to look at another year of supervisors not getting any increase compared to their staff.
I just want to make a correction there. There was a compression review and increase was done for the fire department only. I believe when they went to $12.
That's not bad. From 2020 to now, there's been no change.
Okay, but other departments haven't had a compression ever, at least that I've been a part of over the last 5 years. So fire did have a compression adjustment, and just for your department and just for that reason. So it has been done. Granted, I know it's 2 years ago, but that has not been done for public works. That was not done for any other department but fire.
I'll have him come
Don't,
talk.
yeah, part, yeah.
I'll tell him to give you a talk to you.
Anybody else have any further review of the civil service?
Well, we looked at this, you know, when we went through this a couple years ago, and kind of what you're both addressing is new hires making more than people who've been, let's say, 5+ years or 5 to 10 years. In that they might have gotten those 30% or 50% raise, and now they're looking at the new hire being at 15 and then being at 15.30 or 15.50 after a long time. And so we previously examined individuals who might fall into that category and to look at equity in terms of addressing what that looks like. How do you addressing this? Is that it's great. I am fully in support of raising the bar. We have to do it and pay attention and supporting our employees. However, when you work so hard to get to 1480 and then the starting at 15, it erases basically.
Inflation is 7%. It's the highest it's ever been. So I mean, it just erased all the last 7% that we just did in the bottom of our department.
Absolutely.
2 years, it just erased it. My command staff is still where they were 2 years ago. So that they haven't got any increase. Yeah, they did from 2019 to 2020. You're absolutely right. We did. We're talking about from 20 to now.
I agree.
And the new system that we've established when we went to $12, because it did have a compression, and we've been talking compression for years and years now, and we're still talking compression. I just hope we don't go another year without addressing it like we did the last year.
And maybe COLA if they find it a way to address that. I'm not sure, but
I know we have some things that we need to bring forth to some ideas, money allocation maybe to help, because we can hopefully address this without even increasing it. So I know we're well up under the budget that we proposed last year. So there's got to be some kind of money floating around in our budget. You said we were 49% right now.
I believe the most recent financial shows that 49%.
But yes, that's pretty. There's a lot of money extra floating around. So hopefully we can at least maybe look into something compared to nothing is what we're hoping to get this time. So some kind of progress.
That subject really needs to be addressed directly with finance fiscal budget. So I understand that, this is an opportunity to make, to share how you're, feeling and what's going on. But again, when we start getting into budget numbers and whatnot, I don't think it's appropriate. The point of order that, we're now getting off task. So, but again, it's not to diminish. It's just that this isn't the right platform for it. I'm not trying to diminish. It's just, it's not, that was not me.
We can talk about it all day, but we're not the night person.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I don't know how it was.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments, suggestions, concerns?
Well, fully staffed and
Yeah, we have still have one opening.
excellent work. Much appreciated.
So if you want to move on?
Yes, please. Okay, so item number 4 was discussion of the 2022 holiday calendar. And that was distributed and public notice on December 16th, 2021. And it includes 11 holidays. The one additional.
I think it's, are you counting Thanksgiving too? Or what?
Oh, well, it's an extra day. So anyways, yeah. So it is the same holidays that we've had, which is 11 paid holidays. And so
I think Allison is the one that wanted to discuss them, so I'll let her take the floor.
So as you all know, last year, Juneteenth, June 19th, was passed by the House of Senate and signed into law as the nearest federal holiday. Just days before June 19th, the Friday actually before, and it's a really important day for our country and for our community. It's the day that the last slaves found out that they had been free for 2 years and that we had told them. I feel that as a new federal holiday, it really reflects something to honor in the values of our community. And in different parts of the country, some states have taken it as a state holiday, some cities or counties. And so while I don't really understand why we have a federal holiday but still vote on a local level or a state level in terms of adopting that, I do think it is an incredibly important day to acknowledge and celebrate. And I think that, again, it reflects who we are as a community, and that I would love to see the city of Bisbee take that day into account, not to mention that it is a federal holiday. I don't know if there's a limit as to how many paid days off we have, but honestly, my position is not about having a paid day off. It's about really acknowledging the significance of the state and honoring it and our history. So I don't know the path forward on that, but I wanted to present that to you as the council to see, if other people feel that it is important.
Does anybody have anything to say?
no,
Yes. Go. Yes, ma'am.
go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was going to say, as we've got 11 paid holidays, and I think as a fairly poor city that we really can't afford to have 12. I think that we should probably establish and flex holidays to where people are free to acknowledge the different holidays as they wish.
And I did just want to add a federal holiday, which is established and recognized by federal law. On those days every year, all non-essential government offices close for business. And so my understanding has always been with federal holidays, that is in regards to federal workplaces, IRS, post office, things of that nature, and the either private or even some public sector, because we are counted in that state public sector. That is the difference there, and I think there's a lot of just depending on how you read it, how you interpret it. But that is the best of my understanding. And my only other comment was that I know this has been discussed. It was even mentioned yesterday at the staff meeting, and that there's not going to be additional holidays added. So depending on where we move forward, what is discussed, one won't be added. And so I really, again, I agree with Joe. We have 11 paid holidays. And I think that is generous. And I especially think the day after Thanksgiving is generous. And so, yes, and much needed. But I mean, again, if we look down this list, I mean, what one are we, what one would we want to say, give up in lieu of? And so that's, again, I just wanted to make those comments.
But I just wanted to present it as, and not even necessarily, I completely understand the financial position of it. But then to take the, pay the holiday or the money off the table, just in some way that the city acknowledges that.
Well, one thing you can do, maybe Allison is ask the mayor if you can do a proclamation for that day.
Thank you. That is an excellent idea.
And he may ask you to write it, so maybe you might want to have something together for it, and let him look it over and see if he's willing to do that.
He is a good proclamation writer, so thank you. I appreciate that.
And the last agenda item, review and discussion of the wellness funds from Blue Cross Blue Shield for fiscal year 22. This is our third year that we've received $10,000 from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it's for wellness. Wellness is a lot of things. It's emotional wellness, physical wellness, financial wellness, and so these funds are there. I know a big one last year that was discussed, and I really liked it, but again, it was timing to do something, a really large barbecue or some picnic furniture or, things of that nature, so that there could be maybe an outside gathering area. While we don't have City Hall yet, we are at least moving in that direction more positively than we have in the last 4 years. So I just wanted to put that kind of out there. Those are things that we could look into. For the last 2 years, we've done gift cards to Target, which has lots of health and wellness if you need, or if your wellness is getting Yahtzee and having a movie night or game night with your family. So it does. I think it's been very appreciated. But we do need to start thinking about that, because that has to be done by June.
I have asked my entire department, and they are unanimous in feeling that the Target gift cards were incredibly helpful, and that at least for this year, they're not ready for a party. Actually, even one said they don't go to parties, so they feel they would be left out. And which I think is valid, and that having that extra help with that gift card was incredibly valuable.
And I know last year, the first year, we had used some of the funds for the birthdays when we were doing the cake, little gift certificates. And so it was lower that first year. I think it was 75 or 80. And it specifically, in order to give that many, none of the department heads got them. Last year, we used the whole 10,000. We got 100 $100 gift cards. And it was offered to every employee, department heads, and even our part-time employees, where to me, I really like that part of it, because I think our part-time employees, it's still health and wellness, and just because they don't have Blue Cross Blue Shield, I like that everyone was included in that. And I will say that there were a number of people who declined, and we do, we'd rather set it aside for something else, and so that's also something that, someone just, would like to decline, put it back sort of in the pot for future use, you know, that's always an option, but I did think it was very nice to be able to include all of our employees. So we're good there. Roger, I'll work on it. That's fun, saying that much fun. That's it, unless there's comments or agenda items for the next meeting. Again, most likely be a special session in discussing the items that the Civil Service Commission wanted to bring back. And as always, I'm here, go and talk, follow up, things like that, have suggestions.
I think it would be valuable to add is that something we wanted to
I can pass that word along. That's, you know, that's what I can do. As far as with Carrie and the city manager and say, you know, this has come up at employee council and see where that goes. So that's definitely, and then I can follow up at the special session. That will work. Okay.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I know that we adjourn.
I'll second. All ayes? Aye. Any nays? Meeting's adjourned.